The diner lights flickered like tired stars, buzzing softly above cracked vinyl booths and the smell of burnt coffee. It was the kind of place where secrets stayed hidden and people sat with their pain like old friends. And in the far corner, almost invisible to the world, sat a boy no older than 14, shoulders small, eyes quiet, heart heavier than anyone knew. Marcus Green stared at the steaming plate in front of him, a plate that wasn't just food. It was survival. It was the one warm meal he had saved for all week. Every leaf raked, every yard cleaned, every aching muscle had led to this moment. But when Marcus lifted his fork, another sound cut through the hollow silence. Not a growl. Not a clatter. Something softer, sadder. Whispers. At the next table sat an elderly couple, thin hands clasped together, clothes worn at the edges, dignity fading like the color from their tired faces. Their table was empty. Their eyes were empty. Their hunger was silent, but impossible to ignore. Marcus' stomach twisted painfully. He had eaten nothing since yesterday. Yet something inside him, something deeper than hunger, spoke louder. He looked at his plate. Then at them. One choice. One moment. One act of kindness that would shake the foundations of their small town and echo far beyond it. He pushed the plate forward. The old man gasped. The woman's eyes flooded. Marcus simply smiled, stood up, and walked out into the freezing night, unfed, unnoticed, unaware that by giving away the only meal he had opened the door to a destiny that would change his life forever. And this is the story of how a starving boy fed hope to the world. The diner sat lonely. At the edge of Silveridge Town, a place most people passed without a second glance. It wasn't fancy, just the kind of place with flickering lights and the same old songs playing through an ancient jukebox that had survived far too many years. Late evenings were usually quiet, the few customers lost in their thoughts, and the staff working more out of habit than enthusiasm. On this cold evening, wind brushed icy fingers against every crack in the windows. Outside, snow clung to the streets like a heavy blanket. Inside, warmth hummed through the air. But Marcus Green didn't feel any of it. He sat alone at a corner booth, small hands cupped around a plate of food that steamed like a miracle. The smell filled his chest with a joy he hadn't felt in a long time. A simple meal, eggs, toast, a slice of meat, yet for Marcus, it was a reward far beyond its price. He had earned this meal with hours of hard work, raking leaves for neighbors who barely remembered his name, cleaning yards in the freezing cold, carrying grocery bags for anyone willing to toss him a few coins. Every dollar had mattered. Every ache in his arms had been worth it. This was supposed to be his moment. But life had a way of twisting moments into something unexpected. As Marcus lifted his fork, a soft sound caught his attention. He glanced toward the next table and saw them, an old couple, sitting close as though sharing warmth that life had taken from everywhere else. Their hands were thin and knotted, their eyes dim but gentle. Their table held only 2 empty cups. Marcus noticed the way the woman kept glancing toward the counter, as if debating whether to ask for water. The man kept his head lowered, shoulders sagging, as though carrying the weight of years nobody cared about. The boy's throat tightened. He knew that look. The quiet look of hunger, the kind where you try not to show it, because the shame feels heavier than the emptiness. He looked at his own plate again. Beautiful. Hot. Bought with all he had. His stomach growled sharply. His fingers trembled from hunger. But something inside him, something that had been growing silently since the day his father died, refused to stay still. His father, a man of humble strength, had once told him, "Real strength isn't what you keep, Marcus. Real strength is what you give." Marcus swallowed hard. Then he did something only a heart tested by hardship would understand. He gently slid his plate across the table until it reached the old couple. The old man's head rose, eyes widening with disbelief. His lips trembled as he whispered, "Young man, this is yours." Marcus only smiled. A small, tired, but sincere smile. "You need it more," he said softly. The woman covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. The man reached for Marcus' hand with frail fingers and whispered, "Bless you, son." Marcus nodded, his stomach screaming but his heart strangely calm. He stood, pulled his worn jacket tight around himself, and stepped out into the freezing night. Snowflakes stung his skin, but he walked with quiet dignity. He didn't know he had just changed everything. At dawn, the knock on the door shook their small home. Marcus, still weak from hunger, answered it. Standing outside was a man who looked entirely out of place in their poor neighborhood. Tall, dressed in an expensive coat, polished shoes, and a face Marcus recognized from countless headlines. William Carter, the millionaire entrepreneur known far across the state. A man whose name carried weight, money, power, respect. Behind him stood the old couple from the diner. Marcus blinked in confusion, glancing back at his mother who stood behind him, still in her work uniform from last night's late shift. Carter spoke first. "Son," he said in a deep, steady voice, "I came here because kindness like yours is rare." Marcus' cheeks warmed. He tried to shrug it off. "It was just a meal." "No," the old man said, stepping forward. "It was hope. You gave us hope." Then Carter held up a thick envelope. "I'm giving you a full scholarship," he said. "Paid through college. And a trust fund to help your mother." Marcus froze. His breath caught in his chest. His mother's hands flew to her mouth as tears streamed down her cheeks. She had worked herself sick trying to keep their small home functioning. This felt impossible. I don't understand," Marcus whispered. Carter placed one hand on the boy's shoulder. "The world needs men who stand tall," he said, "even when they're hungry. Yesterday, you showed me what real strength looks like." Marcus felt his throat ache with emotion. The old couple stepped forward to hug him gently. The woman whispered, "You saved our dignity. Today, fate has saved your future." News traveled fast, faster than Marcus ever imagined. By the afternoon, the story spread across Silveridge. People who had never noticed Marcus now greeted him with admiration. Children at school talked about him in hushed tones, like he was someone extraordinary. But Marcus didn't feel extraordinary. He felt the same as yesterday, just a boy trying to make the world a little kinder than he found it. "Hunger passes," he told anyone who asked him why he did it. "But love stays." And those words stayed with everyone who heard them. For the elderly couple, Marcus had restored their dignity at a moment when life had almost beaten it out of them. For the millionaire, Marcus reminded him that wealth only matters when it fuels kindness. For Marcus, it proved one thing beyond all doubt: even the smallest sacrifice can echo louder than 1,000 speeches. As Marcus lay in bed, wrapped in blankets patched with love more than cloth, he felt something warm inside him. Not hunger, not fear, but hope. His father's voice echoed in his memory, soft but powerful. "Real strength is never about what you keep. It's what you give away, even when it costs you everything." And Marcus finally understood. Acts of kindness may go unseen by crowds, but never by fate.